the rest of the world is trying to sell us something. We're seen as consumers. We're not seen as men. We're seen as consumers. What can we sell to them? How can we keep them docile, emasculate them, keep them just steady, calm, and distracted with all these little dopamine fixes that we're going to give them? And we see men, the masculinity. So I'm reading Nietzsche, and he's talking about the sun shining on earth and how it brings substance. It's our very life source. And he talks about all the other stars and suns of the universe, and he says, are they shining without any appreciation? Is there anybody out there receiving that? And it got me thinking, us as men, we're created to be kind of this life source, these providers, these protectors, these men of strength that actually have something to offer. And from antiquity, that was appreciated, that was respected, admired, strong, upright men. And we've seen a waning of that, a de-appreciation of that as society has taken its course to present day. And it has me asking, man, am I bringing any value to those around me? I don't much care about those outside of my circle, outside of my family, outside of my son. But I am curious, am I bringing some substance? Has modernity stolen away, repressed the very nature of what it means to be man in my life? Right, as we've evolved into this almost emasculated feminism culture that we live in, kind of this left-wing propaganda. Have I bought into that? Have I bought into what Hollywood and media has crammed down my throat to what it means to be a man, which in essence really isn't a man, but it's more like we're going to teach you how to be a good person, a good robot, a good consumer, but we're going to strip away what it means to be man. We're going to strip away your value, your truth, your light, your illumination. And like Nietzsche was saying, the sun, man, it brings this life source. And I think many a men today, myself included, we're not so much bringing forth truth. We're not bringing forth anything of substance. We're just a reflection. We're more like the moon. We're reflecting what media tells us. We're reflecting what society crams down our throat. And we find ourselves less than. Get on YouTube. Watch some content. You'll see many a man that's kind of just lost or haphazardly trying to find their way, and rightfully so. We live in a culture today that is pressed man, marginalized man, pressed into the boundaries of existence where we don't depend upon your son. You don't have any life source to us. You don't have anything that we need. We're not accepting of your utility. What utility? And yet we see a generation of women saying, where have all the good men gone? What do they bring to the table? Well, you've turned off the light switch, man. You're walking around in darkness. We see society kind of feeling its way, eyes closed, feeling its way through this darkness because we shut off the light. That light being men. We are that light, that illumination. That's our nature. And so there's a lot of men in today's generation walking around kind of in their own darkness, feeling like they have nothing of value, and it's tearing away the very faculty of society. Because as men, we are a large component in society being functional, and society being something more than a degenerate culture, right? We're half of the whole, man, woman. And I think it's important that we begin to understand that there is some depth to us. There's more than just being that man that can provide a baby at the very basis, and not even needed for that now, right? We'll just take some random semen from some guy that we don't know, and we can have lesbians having babies, and then what have you. Just this degenerate culture that's pushing men to the side, saying they're not of any value, but we are. We're created to be that sun, and so I think it's imperative that we see a generation of men not stepping away from that responsibility, not pointing fingers and blaming feminism, or not blaming anything else. Let's get back to the basics, that we are men of substance. We're men of value, and I think that it's crucial that we recognize that. And outside of trying to prove that to anyone that's against us, or anyone that deems us toxic, personally, I have a son. I want to provide some value and substance for him. I want to provide some true light, life source to him. I don't want to be a reflection like the moon, reflecting some bullshit that society's cramming down our throats to spread like propaganda. And it is spreading. It's spreading like a wildfire. And I think it's going to take men of actual depth, men of intellectual depth, men of some even physical prowess, physical strength to stand up and say, hey, this is what a man looks like. And this is the light that we're going to illuminate to a world that's almost putting weakness on a pedestal. It's like we're weak, we're less than average, and we're proud of it. Well, that's not sustainable to society, and that's not what a man represents. That's not what I want to represent. I've represented that for too long. I've been that very shallow, superficial man that's reflected other people's thoughts, that's reflected other people's ideas, ideologies, that's reflected the propaganda. I've been that moon instead of the sun, and there's so much more to life than reflecting other people's BS. Right? As men, it's time that we go inward. We go inward, we begin to find what it truly means to be man. How many of us actually know who the hell we are or what we want, right? What's the direction that I'm aiming for? Am I just going down this course because it's what I've been taught, right? Mom, dad taught me, grandparents taught me, teachers taught me, media taught me, the movies taught me. How many of us have that favorite movie? And I remember as a kid, I was thinking, oh, I'd love to do that. I'd love to go live. I always lived in the country. I remember watching movies in the suburbs. I'd like to go live that. That seems like an ideal life. Not realizing what I had, man. I had a lot of great things around here. I grew up in a great place. And I think as men, we get caught up in that, what they're trying to sell us. You know, the rest of the world is trying to sell us something. We're seen as consumers. We're not seen as men. We're seen as consumers. What can we sell to them? How can we keep them docile, emasculate them, keep them just steady, calm, and distracted with all these little dopamine fixes that we're going to give them? And we see men, man. The masculinity is dropping, testosterone's dropping. We see the very nature of men dropping. We're no longer the sun. We have surrendered that right to government, to outside sources to shed light on us when we should be the ones shedding light. And I think it's crucial. We're at a standstill right now. We're at the edge of the cliff, man. We're on the precipice here, where we're either going to fall to our death or we're going to back up and say, hey, we're not going to be herded off the cliffside like the rest of the sheep. It's time to stand up. I'm not going to depend upon you to shed light on me. I'm going to be know that I have some value, some substance, something to offer. I'm going to begin to shed my own light, and not necessarily for everybody else, right? But for my circle, for my people that are willing to accept that. Like I said, the people that I encounter, I want them to have some light, have some source. I want to have brought something to the table for those that are appreciative of what I have to offer. And in return, I want to be reflective of other people with like-mindedness, right? I want to be illuminated by my circle. I want to be illuminated by my family and friends. And I think it's this good interplay when we surround ourselves with those other like-minded people that are saying, hey, there's something more than standing in darkness. There's something more than reflecting the nonsense of the world. I think we're going to see a generation of men that stand up and say, I am a son. I have some value, some substance. I'm not dependent upon anybody else. And that's key there. We look at the sun. It doesn't depend upon anybody else, anything else. Just this ball of fire that just brings forth substance. And we can receive that or not. And I think we're going to see men that are stepping away from the nonsense. And we see those men that are start saying, hey, I've got something of value. I have a lot to bring to the table. And I'm not necessarily bringing it to all you little thoughts out there that are just saying, where are all the good men? I'm going to bring my substance to those that are appreciative of it, that actually deserve it. And I think this is what it's going to take, a return to tradition, so that we can actually begin to see some sort of excellence, a semblance of excellence through men saying, I have some substance, I have some depth, I have some value, and I'm going to begin to search that out. I've been caught up in the superficial games for so long, looking for validation out there. I'm going to validate myself because I know I have some depth, I know I have some value. And when men return to that inner core, that inner substance, we're going to see some great balls of fire happening. We're going to see a return to men being men.